Hello, I'm First Sergeant Cap with Company D, 2nd United States Sharpshooters, on part 2 of our How to Make Sharps rounds for reenacting series. Joining with me this evening is Captain Ethan Whitehall, and he is going to show you how to make this fancy type of Sharps rounds. In the previous video I showed you how to make the rat tail round. You can click on the description below and watch how to make this. So Captain Ethan Whitehall, how do we make this style of Sharps round?
So to make the flat base Sharps round, you just take your non-thermal receipt paper you can find at Staples, Office Depot, any office supply store, in a Sharps template found at the link below. What you do is just place it down on the paper that you have, doesn't matter which side. Basically, if you want to mass produce these rounds, you just fold it over to where the cut makes the cut. So you take a sharp pair of scissors, cut along your line, and there's your paper. From there, you glue the cut side, or the slanted side, take a 1/2 inch dowel, make sure you don't get any of the glue part onto the dowel, roll it, and you have a finished tube. Sometimes you have to glue the edges if you don't get enough glue on it, then you let it dry. This is a pre-made one. It's completely hollow. What we need to do is get the base to it, the flat base. For that, it's a 1 inch by 1 inch square of tissue paper. This one's red, it can be pure white, doesn't really matter. I prefer red just for ease of seeing which end is which. If you're doing a living history, preferred is obviously white. So for that, you need a 1/4 inch dowel, and on it is a piece of tape slightly smaller than 1/2 inch to fit cleanly through the tube, but also assure that the tissue paper gets stuck onto it. So you place one corner to another corner and fold down the other corners around the edge of the dowel with the tape. Then you glue only the tissue paper that is on the dowel. Take your tube, insert the dowel, and leave a small, about 1/16 space of paper above the tissue paper, and crimp it down over the tissue paper. That's to make sure it's a secure fit and your tissue paper won't fall out the back, losing your powder. And just like that, your flat base is in. So taking a pre-dried tube and your powder measure down to 60 grains. You can use 55, but 60 seems to be the best report. Your flask. Fill it all the way to the top. Settle your powder. Take your tube. Pour your powder in just like that. And you take another 1 inch by 1 inch tissue paper. Place it over your tube. Take the untaped 1/4 inch half of your dowel and lightly tamp the tissue paper in. What this does secures the paper, or secures the powder down, and the paper prevents powder from spilling out. Take your scissors and cut roughly 1/4 to 1/2 inch off. Just make sure that the round isn't long enough and fits in your cartridge box. Take the center of the paper, push it all the way in and down. Take 1/2, fold it to the center. The other half, fold it to the center. Bend once and twice, and a very small third time. And that is a M1860 flat base Sharps cartridge. The plus side of this is you can load it into a Sharps breech loader without having to cut your rat tail off, and it saves you 5 grains or more of powder and assures a quicker reload by a couple seconds at least.
Yeah, so normally when you have a rat tail round, when you cut off the back, you always get some black powder here that anyone who's used a Sharps before gets used to blowing it off. So this consumes less, or wastes less, black powder than the rat tail round, and it's a nice compact cartridge. The fire from the cap exploding is more than enough to ignite this thin tissue paper.
Sometimes even two.
Yeah, sometimes even two. And it's a really effective round. And this is much more period correct as far as your reenacting persona and impression goes. Early sharpshooter rounds did have rat tails, and they would look very much like this. But the sharpshooters had a problem because every time you cut off the tail, you lost different amounts of black powder, and that precision was lost in long distance shooting. By going to a style of cartridge like this, you're able to have consistency in your shots at long range. So there you go. There's part 2 of making reenactor rounds with
Captain Ethan Whitehold, Company D, 2nd U.S. Sharpshooters.
and First Sergeant Kep. We look forward to showing you in part 3 how to make live rounds for the shooting range.